Okay, good morning. My name is Caitlin Leone, and I am a licensed social worker with Westchester Jewish Community Services, otherwise known as WJCS. And I'm here today to facilitate a parent workshop, number 3 of our series. So today is entitled Parenting the Storm One Step at a Time. As I mentioned, this is the 3rd workshop. We've been doing these on Wednesdays at 11. And so we've had 2 prior, and this is our 3rd. So I want to just cover a few housekeeping pieces before we get started. The first piece is this video is being recorded. So the 2 workshops that we've had in the past weeks are actually available on the WJCS website. It's WJCS.com. And if you click on news, you'll find the free parenting online workshops. If you click on that, you will see there are YouTube links to watch the 2 prior videos. And then if you would like to watch this one as well, you can do that. That will be available in the next few days. So I also provided the link in the chats where you could actually just see where you can get straight to those free online parenting groups that have been recorded already, and that will be available for your viewing purposes, or if you wanted to share it with someone else. The other piece is that for some people, if you can't hear me, or there are people who don't have access to a computer or video in some way, shape, or form, you can call in. And I know if you can't hear me, you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying right now, but the conference call number is in that chat box as well. It's 646-558-8656. So you'll be able to call in or let someone else know that they can call in. That's only live. The recorded versions, like I said, are on the website. Second piece of information, I just wanted to let you know that my coworker, Brenda Haas, is actually going to be my co-host for today. She just waved. I unmuted her. I don't know if you want to say good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm a social worker also in Jewish programs, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for joining us. And so I am also, like I mentioned, a social worker, but I thought I would share that I work with the Young People Achieve program throughout a few high schools in Westchester County. So I work with teens from freshmen to seniors, but actually I also go into the middle school health classes, and I work with middle school students as well. So I have experience with those age groups, and I'm also a mom of 2 boys, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I wanted to ask if everyone could, as we've done in the past, type in the chat box. Hopefully you can find it. The age of your children or child, and if you're comfortable, where you're from, like your city or town, just so we have an idea of kind of who's in the room today. So I'll give you guys a few minutes for that. And I'll just type in mine as well so that maybe it'll pop up for you if you can't find it. And I'll give you guys a few minutes to type in if you'd like to add the age of your child or where you're from, your place of residence. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share my screen with you so we can get to our PowerPoint. Okay, so I want to just start by saying thank you to everyone who has joined us today, and thank you to all of those participants who have been here for the past weeks. I know it's a hard thing to find time and to get here every week, and hopefully people will find time afterwards if 11 o'clock on Wednesdays isn't convenient, but I just wanted to really say thank you for being here and joining me today, and hopefully these weekly sessions have been helpful and will continue to be. So as I mentioned, today is Parenting Through the Storm, One Step at a Time. But I wanted to kind of go backwards to our last few workshops. Our first workshop focused on self-care and mindfulness. Self-care, my main image was to show you that if you're running on empty, you can't take care of yourselves, right? So it's the whole airplane safety guides that we always find when we get on airplanes, that if you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then you can't take care of the people you love and that you live with. So self-care is the foundation. It's the reason why we're able to continue and be able to become less stressed when we're dealing with our children and parenting every day, and especially in the circumstances that we're in now. So we did a lot of self-care and mindfulness activities and ideas, and shared some ways that we can do that and build it in every day. So I'll bring us back to our to-do, which I'm going to do every week because I feel like it's very important as a reminder. I need it every day to remind myself of these things. So on a weekly basis, to just kind of put this back into your head, to remind you to try to find 10 minutes a day to perform some sort of mindfulness activity, either on your own or with your children, so that you can kind of reset your brain and start fresh. The second one was time for yourself, which might be that mindfulness activity, but I'm hoping you can find a little bit more than 10 minutes a day for yourself. I know might be a lot to ask right now, but even if it's, like we've said, after your kids go to bed, if it's not every day, but a half hour to an hour of time to yourself, that you can do something a couple times a week, and then hopefully a little bit of time every day that you can find for your own self-care. Meeting your basic needs: eat, sleeping, exercising, taking care of your mental health, managing your stress, and trying to keep calm. All of those things require that your basic needs are met first. You can't focus on a mindfulness activity if your stomach is growling and you can't, and you're starving, right? And that's all you can think about. So eating, sleeping, exercise are all the basic kind of needs that our body needs in order to function on a daily basis. And having a network, right? So we mentioned some of our connections with friends, some more technological ways we can connect through Zoom, or house party is actually a fun one I've been doing more, because you're able to set like games that you can actually play, and they do it for you. So you don't have to really facilitate the games. Before, I was kind of taking out card games and doing trivia and bingo with my friends and family, but now with House Party, they do the trivia on their own, and you can kind of everyone key in. So that might be an option as well for some of you who may not be aware of that app as well, and it's free, and you can invite your friends or family. And then also just checking in with other people to stay connected in that network, whether, again, it's family or friends or someone you care about, someone you're worried about that you might think needs a check-in today. The next workshop focused on positive, nurturing parenting. So my main point was that children right now, never mind all the time, at all ages, want our love, attention, and patience. Even though it doesn't always feel like that, this is exactly what they need and want. And it's hard to find a balance between the nurture and the structure. So healthy parenting, in the simplest of forms, looks like that little balance there for the parenting equation, that we have a healthy amount of love and nurturing and care and active listening, but we also have some structure, which would be keeping calm, those 3 C's we talked about last week: the calm, clear, and confident for your kids, so that you are that person in the house that is their stability and makes them feel safe because they know what to expect from you. And my last point I wanted to kind of set as a reminder before we get started today is role modeling, that every one of these things I just mentioned, if you're doing them, your children are watching you, and they will learn more by your example than your words, right? We are our children's first teachers as parents, and they learn by watching us. We can tell them time and time again what to do, but when they see us do it, take care of ourselves, get the sleep we need, eat, and take care of all the pieces that we need to do, they learn to do that for themselves as well, so that hopefully maybe you won't have to do it, right? They'll slowly become more confident that they can do it and become more independent and start doing it on their own without you having to guide them through it day to day. So the magic of everyday moments is a video that I wanted to show everyone. So I'm going to try to share this screen with you next, and then we'll go back. But this is kind of a quick little synopsis, and then I can run through it after we watch it. So hopefully everyone can hear.
When you were expecting and imagining life with your child, you were probably picturing moments like this, and this, and probably not moments like this, or this. But the fact is that these behaviors, while frustrating, are the natural and expected ways that children express feelings in the early years, especially intense or hard to manage feelings. Young children have very little self-control. The part of their brain that is responsible for self-control develops slowly, so toddlers are impulsive and act on their feelings. And when their behavior is out of control, it's a sign that they are unable to cope with the feelings they are experiencing. They need help. So what can you do? First and foremost, try to stay calm during moments when your toddler is defiant or having a tantrum. Take a few deep breaths, or even step away for a moment to pull yourself together. When your child is very upset or out of control, he needs you to be his rock. Your calm steadiness provides an anchor for his storm. Angry responses to challenging behavior only increase the overall intensity of the situation. This makes it less likely your child will learn how to manage strong feelings effectively. Indeed, research has found that harsh discipline can lead to children developing behaviors such as aggression, delinquency, or hyperactivity later in life. The good news is that the research also shows that the most effective way to help children learn to manage their emotions starts with showing empathy and compassion. Yes, you heard right. Let your child know you understand his feelings. Why? Because the feelings are not the problem. Think about it. What child wants to stop happily playing and leave the playground, or have their favorite people say goodnight and leave them at bedtime? It's what kids do with these feelings that can become challenging, such as throwing a tantrum and refusing to leave the playground. Name your child's feelings to show you understand where she's coming from. For example, acknowledging she's angry that it's time to stop playing and go home. But be clear about the rule. For example, that it's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to hit. If your child has a hard time accepting the limit, she may need time to get her anger or frustration out. Give her a safe space to calm down, and let her know that when she's done being upset, you can move on to something else. The more you react to the tantrum, the less likely it is that she will learn to soothe herself and cope with the limit. Once your child has calmed, reconnect by showing empathy and compassion for the difficult feelings he or she is trying to cope with. Learning to manage feelings and impulses starts in the first 3 years, but takes many, many more to master. It is a skill that emerges gradually between the ages of 2 and 4 and continues developing through early adulthood. In the first 3 years, the foundation for self-control is built through everyday interactions with you and other loved ones. What this means is that you matter a lot. With your understanding, guidance, and patience, there will be fewer moments like these, and many more moments like these.
Okay, so that was from a um, website or a great resource that is called 0 to 3. So it's ZeroToThree. And I wanted to just share that with you because, like I said, I think it's a great reminder. It's also a great thing to be able to kind of, I think there's a lot covered in there that we've talked about already, right? Trying to stay calm, but it's good to kind of see in action and not just hear me talk about, obviously. So let's see if we can get back to the PowerPoint. Hopefully we can. Yes. And like I said, so it has some great reminders, and they have great resources on there, a bunch of videos and different articles for parents. So I would invite you to go visit that website if you like the video or you feel like there's some more information you'd like about all different topics for mostly the younger kiddos, right? So 0 to 3, but as this video mentioned, all of these things are important through adulthood. And I'm sure we're all still trying to figure out how to manage this, which is why we're all here, right? And reminding ourselves of these things each and every day. It's very difficult to manage our emotions, but like we said, if we role model for our kids and we can use those active listening skills and remain calm and use our 3 C's, then it might make it much easier, or at least you might start to see a difference in behavior with our kiddos and see more of the behaviors maybe we want to see. But today, we're going to really talk about some clear, specific ways that we can try to start seeing different behaviors in our kids, or the behaviors that we want to see. So last week, we talked about how we want to listen to our children and the emotions and the things that they're going through, and how we can be really good active listeners. But today, we're going to talk about how we can get our kids to listen to us, right? So it goes both ways. And I didn't want that to go unnoticed, because even though I'm sure I challenged you by saying that we need to listen to our kids more last week, definitely having them listen to us is extremely important as well. So we are going to talk about how to get our kids to listen and going from negative to positive language. So what do I mean by that? I think I talked a little bit about this before, but I said that we use a lot of negative language, meaning saying no a lot, which we're going to get to as well, but also just telling kids what we don't want them to do, but that we want to shift it back to what we do want them to do. Because when we say stop hitting or don't run, that's all they're hearing is hitting, run, hitting, run. And they're not really sure, at least the younger ones, what you want them to do. So if you can shift the focus, they can actually start thinking about what you want instead of what you don't want, and get kind of stuck on that and perseverate, right? So if instead of saying don't run, we might want to say please walk. My son was a runner for a long time, running through parking lots, refusing to hold my hand, running down sidewalks, and I was feeling like I was at my wit's end with saying don't run, please, I don't know what I was saying, don't run, you have to be safe, blah, 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 but nothing was working. And then he is really into music. So I realized, let me use some songs that really work, because I've been able to do that with eating and different ways to get him to do things I needed him to do by singing. So I started doing my walking song, and he magically started walking, because the song says something like marching, 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 marching. Now we stop. So when we would get to a place that I needed him to stop, or he was getting too far ahead of me, that was really working well, because marching he was going slower than walking or running. And he wasn't hearing me just constantly being a broken record saying, don't run, please, stop, stop, stop. So that really worked. But you might say, please slow down, right? Can you slow down? I can't keep up with you, things like that, instead of the don't run, right? Don't jump might be sit, please. We sit on couches, depending on where they're jumping. I want you to be safe. Don't yell. You might say, can you use a quiet voice? Can you lower your voice? A lot of times when there's a lot of yelling, I just revert to a whisper, because they can't hear me if they're yelling and I'm whispering, which sometimes gets their attention. Works maybe 50% of the time for me, but they're probably used to me doing it now. But when you first do it, they are kind of taken back by it, right? And it does work at times. Don't hit. All depends on what they're hitting and what they're doing, right? Be gentle. please, show me how you can hug your brother. Can you show me, different ways of what might be happening when they are hitting. Don't throw toys. Stop throwing toys. I'm always saying stop throwing toys. So I'm trying to reframe my thinking and saying toys are for, right? If it's a train, toys are for the train track. Balls are for, shooting in the basket. If, they're throwing basketballs around or throwing basketballs at people. Please gently place the toys in the basket, because my son tends to throw toys in the basket, just cleaning up, which I'm trying to let him know that it's a great thing. Thank you for helping clean up. You're doing a great job, but can we gently place the toys in the basket, or can we gently place the toys on the ground instead of throwing them across the room into the toy bin? So don't talk to me like that. This can be some, for older kids too. I know we have a lot of arguments with the older children, and we have a lot of talking back, probably through all ages. I'm getting that already as well. But please use kind words with younger ones. But, with older ones, you could change that, but to saying, can you speak to me in a nicer way? Or when they're complaining or crying, I don't understand you when you're talking like that. That's for younger kids too, right? But, with older kids, you can set those boundaries and limits as well. I'm not going to have a conversation with you, until you're calm, right? Or can you calm down so that we can talk? That's a threat, right? So I started with a threat. I already reframed what I said there. So instead of threatening by saying, if you don't calm down, I'm not going to talk to you. But when you're calm, we can have a conversation. Can you lower your voice? Don't play with the ball inside. Balls are for outside use, right? So if there are certain balls that you don't want inside, throwing around inside, number one, I would just say don't even make it an option and keep the ball outside or not in view in a closet or something. But definitely things that you want to be used inside and outside, you can make inside outside toys, and certain things are not to be used in the house. Scooters. Don't slam the door. Please close the door gently. I'm sure you can be creative and think of another way of don't slam the door. Don't interrupt me. Please wait till I'm finished talking. You can, it depends on kind of what your limits are as a parent, right? Would you just like them to say, excuse me when they're speaking, or they need something to say? It might, just be, you need to wait patiently until mommy's done. Give me 5 minutes, but the don't interrupt me can also lead to, I don't know what you want me to do then, right? Can you please wait patiently? Can you go play in the other room for 5 minutes until I'm off the phone? So hopefully those are pretty clear in terms of how we would change them. And as you've already seen, I had to reframe some of the things that I was thinking, and I do it every day, right? So I start with a negative, and then I reframe it and say, wait a second, let's change that to a positive. That's not what I meant. I meant this. So it is definitely a challenge, but if you can try to remind yourself even to do it a few times a day, I think you will notice a difference when talking to your kids, when you really want them to hear you and listen and be able to do what you'd like them to do or not do something else, right? So then we're going to talk about, do you react or respond? So responding to your kids is much more proactive than reacting in kind of an emotional or as you see the little graphic here is more like with fireworks, right? Is a reaction. Responding is really taking a step back and responding to what's the kid's saying or what's happening in the situation. So the first example is stop that crying right now, where you can actually change it and say, you look upset. Do you need a hug? That's some of those physical contacts that we were talking about last week. What you can do to help a kid calm down instead of just saying, stop crying. Now, again, they're just thinking of the negative. Stop crying, stop crying, stop crying. Can you take a few breaths, and can I help you calm down? What do you think might help right now? If you two don't stop fighting, I'm turning this car around, right? Or the threats about, getting siblings to stop whatever's going on between the quarrels. And so if it is in the car, and depending on what you can do, you don't want to use that threat. Like I said, you might want to say, I'm pulling this car over, and when the car is quiet, I will continue driving, right? So it's maybe you don't want to turn around and go home because you got to get somewhere, or maybe you can't pull the car over because you're in a rush to get somewhere, but you need to really stop for a minute and think about what you want to say so that it's not a threat, because when it doesn't happen and you don't come through with what you've said, then your threat has no, you don't have a leg to stand on. And threats aren't always successful. So I would say when you tell them what you need them to do, you say when this, then that. So you're already saying that you expect that they'll be able to do that. You're giving them an expectation that's possible that they can do, instead of, if you can't do it, then, too bad. And sometimes that can basically mean that you're already telling them that you don't have confidence that they can calm themselves down, or that they can use their coping skills to figure it out. So if you're able to say, if X, then Y, then, they'll have already kind of more motivation to do it. What? You spilled your juice again, right? So kids don't want to spill their juice. They might not have been thinking, they might have been being clumsy, or they may have been tantruming. But like we said, with disciplining, you want to have the discipline mimic or mirror the behavior. So you want that child to help clean up that juice, whether they threw it on the floor in anger or it was an accident, right? So, oops, let's get a rag and clean up that mess. Or let's try to calm down, and when we're calm, we're going to clean up. Darn right, or that's not fair, life's not fair, get used to it. Or you can say in a more responsive way, I can tell you're upset about my decision. And then depending on what the situation is, you can elaborate, or you can just say, I understand you're upset. You don't like what I decided, or you don't like what I just said. Another C, so we're talking about grades here. Another C, what's going on with you? Whereas if you're responding, you might say, it looks like you're struggling in math. Is there anything I can do to help, right? What's going on? Not what's going on with you, meaning that you're upset with them as a person, but that you're upset with the C, right? So the same thing of the behaviors we were talking, that you're not telling them that you think they're a bad kid or that you don't love them, but you don't love what they're doing or how they're acting right now. That's enough whining, young lady. So again, please use a calm voice when asking me for something. Or I usually, when there's whining, I say, I can't understand you when you're talking like that, so that they can kind of check themselves and switch the voice. Because even when I say, please calm down, and when you're asking me for something, they, my younger kids can't really figure out how to calm down, right? So I say, when you use that voice, I can't understand you when you're talking. And then they realize, okay, let me switch my voice. And hopefully, usually it's a calmer one. I've had it with you. Obviously, that's not going to make anyone feel good, and we're just going to have a reactive child when we've said something like that to them. So I'm feeling frustrated right now. I'm going to take a walk to calm down. So really giving your kids a heads up that you're getting to a point where is very difficult for you to stay calm, or very difficult for you to deal with the situation, is teaching them how to realize that and become self-aware for themselves. So I can't tell you how many times it is, and mommy's getting really frustrated right now. I'm having a really hard time staying calm. I need your help. And that tends to kind of reset the situation. And I do walk away sometimes, or I just sit there and have some breathing, or I say, I just need a quiet minute. And again, role modeling, but also does help me calm down so that I don't have that reactive, explosive response that I don't want to have. And now for our third piece is, instead of saying no, what can we say? I know I am sick of saying it, and I still say it every day, but I try to say it less and less, as much as I can, by reminding me of a few things. So these are a few things we can say instead of no, which would be, that won't work. Let's talk about that. I want to hear about your idea, or tell me more. That can work with all ages, but might be more for older kids when they're requesting something that you really feel like isn't something you're okay with or you're going to allow. But maybe you guys can come to a compromise on what they're asking. If it's to hang out with their friends during the quarantine, right? What does that mean? Let's talk about that. I want to hear more about what you're thinking. Can you tell me more, instead of just shutting the idea Again, what I mentioned earlier is after you do X, then you can do Y. So if they ask, can I watch a video? After you finish your homework, you can watch a video. After you finish cleaning up, you could head downstairs to play. With older kids, right? After, with older kids, it could be the same thing with the videos or things like that. It could be, have time on FaceTime or Netflix party where they can watch a show together. After you help me set the table or help me fix dinner, you can have some time with your friends. Here's another way you can try this, or let's try a different way, right? So instead of saying, no, that's not going to work, right? Hey, can I show you a different way, or can I show you what works for me? I can help, or I won't let you. So I won't let you, when I think of that, is really about safety. And when instead of just saying kids, no, that's not safe, I'm not going to let you do that, I won't let you, that's not safe. It's my job to keep you safe. And then if you want to explain it more about what that reasoning is, you can, depending on the child's age. But the younger they are, the simpler you should keep it. But even with older kids, you want to use some simple explanations to be able to just drive the point home and not get into too much of a battle or a power struggle like we talked about last week, right? This is 65 positive things you can say to your child. I have this hanging in both of my offices, and I have it in folders. I also have it here at home and saved on my phone so I can scroll through it when I'm just having a hard time, like we said, changing those negative things into positive things and reminding myself of all of these pieces are where we're giving our kids encouragement. So I mentioned a couple of things about how we can build confidence and resilience in our children. One of those being providing encouragement. These are all great ways to do that and say that. I think our go-tos are usually about, oh, you're so smart, or you look so nice today, right? But it might be a good way to change that, because a lot of the research says that when we focus on intelligence and things like that, we're not really giving our kids the stamina to really realize, and the confidence and self-esteem to be able to get things done. So if you change that to say, oh, it looks like you worked really hard on that, or I'm so proud of how patient you were, or how long you spent on that. That must have been really hard. That kind of amps them up and helps them become more motivated to do that in the future, and to realize that when math is hard and they don't feel so smart, that they're not going to disappoint you if things take longer or it's harder for them. They'll know that you're really focusing on the effort than just that they're smart and it's just easy for them. So some of these things I wanted to highlight about saying you were right to your children is also a role modeling thing that I think is really important. We often feel like we're the authoritative figure and we're the boss in the house and we make the rules, and that we're never wrong. And it's hard to really show that more vulnerable side to our kiddos, but it is important because, number one, we're giving them the skill to know that when they get to a point where they're wrong, that they might admit it, right, and say, you're right. They might apologize when we apologize to our kids and say, I'm sorry. And then even when our kids don't say sorry, my son had a big blow up last night, and I think my husband said something like, do you have something to say to mommy? And he kind of just looked at me like, no. And a few minutes later, when I was putting him to bed, I just said, I just wanted to let you know that I forgive you for what happened, and I hope tomorrow's a better day, right? So those pieces, even when they don't apologize, right? We don't always get apologies from adults, but we do sometimes need to move past it and forgive them, whether we say it or not. But I think it's really important to name those things when you're talking to your kids. So a few more, just you're valuable. I know you did your best, even though it was frustrating or really hard, or it took a long time. You're worth it. You make me happy. Being around you is fun. You did that so well. I'm listening. And I love you. I could never stop loving you. You are enough, and you make my heart full. So good thing you could screenshot if you'd like. It's also a very simple thing. You can Google 65 positive things to say to your child and save it on your phone. It comes up very simply and easily. It's a very popular chart that you can find in many spots. So just some good reminders to shift our thinking into some more positive ways. And I'd ask that you guys remember to respond to a child's needs first, same as what we talked about with ourselves, our basic needs, that food, sleep, and really age-appropriate guidelines, to not place expectations on kiddos that are younger that they just can't do. Identifying their feelings, naming and taming those feelings, using that positive language, shifting the don'ts and no's into what you want them to do or what you want to see, and so giving those options, explaining clearly and concisely, those 3 C's, calm, clear, and confident. And then telling them, like we said, the behavior you want to see. I had this slide up from last week about how we can build resilience, but all 4 of these points build better behavior, confidence, positive relationships with your children, and resilience. So I wanted to highlight these again because making time for play, unstructured time for play, is essential. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why play is so important in our next slide. Providing them with small jobs, meaning chores, which I'm going to give you a few examples of as well, to give them some responsibility and feeling, and giving them a feeling of self-worth, that they're contributing to the house. Giving them your full undivided attention. We said about 20 minutes, if we can fit it in daily. Some days it might not happen at all, but hopefully we can fit in a little bit, even if it's right before bedtime, without the phones, without the noise, without the TV on, without any distractions. And if not, then maybe we double the time the next day if we didn't get any time in one day. And then providing encouragement often. That's those pieces of those 65 positive things you can say, those pats on the back, those high fives when they finish their work through the e-learning, or do something that you didn't even ask them to do, and they just happen to do it on their own, and to really point those out and make it a big deal and mean it. So what every parent should know about play: children learn and develop through play. Play is healthy, play reduces stress, and play and learning go hand in hand. It's like a child's lab where they experiment with things they have learned. So if you ever notice with children playing, they might want to act something out, like going to the doctor's office or shopping or playing house. Those are all ways that they're experimenting on how things go, right? They might say, I'm going to be the mom and you be the child, right? Through play. And they can kind of live in this fantasy world, but they are still also working out realities. Sometimes kids use play in order to work out a fear that they have. You might notice they might work through, like we said, a doctor's appointment and giving a teddy bear a shot, and how that works and what happens when they're feeling worried or stressed about something, or having some anxiety around what might happen. So play is great for all of those things. And you can start those pieces too, but usually children will do it on their own. But it's good to know how you can kind of incorporate that and the daily routine things into play. Play leads to success, child success, and self-esteem, right? So if they're playing out these different ways of dealing with things, making decisions for themselves, they will have a higher self-esteem, and they'll be able to cope and deal with challenges and make decisions as they get older. Play is where children get to make their own decisions, be spontaneous, become immersed in the moment, and have fun. So this might be a place where every day when they're playing, they can forget about all the stress and what's going on right here and now through parents. They're seeing with you guys and the stress that you're going through, and the stress that they might be going through or having with not being able to see their friends, not being able to go to school, and not being able to see their teachers and the people, and have the people they know and love, and have some real normalcy. So this is a way to kind of forget about that and relieve stress, as well as play through some of those things. So wanted to highlight the importance of play so that everyone's aware. And then these are age-appropriate chores. This is also a great thing you might want to screenshot if you can with your phone. This is separated by years. Some of these I was surprised to see in the age ranges, like wiping the baseboards. I don't think I'd make my 2 or 3-year-old wipe baseboards, but it's on there. But you can pick and choose just because it kind of gives you a few ideas about very simple things. My 3-year-old, when he's getting in the bathtub, he's taking off his clothes. I might have to help him with getting some of his clothes off, but he's expected to get those clothes right to the hamper. Putting away clothes in drawers, I don't know that I'd want him to do that, but my 6-year-old can absolutely do that. This is all kind of on what your comfort zone is, right? But to really give them some things to do. Matching socks, I think my 3-year-old can do that. That's in the 4 to 6-year-old pile, but he can absolutely put colors together and figure that out. And then it moves along, right? And it keeps expanding. Folding laundry. With 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds, you can also help them sort the laundry and maybe put them from the washer to the dryer, help them turn the washer on with you. Whether the washer and dryer is in your house or you're taking them to the laundromat or down to the hall to the washer dryer room. They can help you do all of those things. Bring the soap, the quarters in, right? Organizing toys, cleaning up toys are all ways that kids can help. And then 12 plus years are all some good things as well, I think, with, doing their own laundry, possibly assigning them a day or 2 during the week where maybe they prepare their own lunch or maybe lunch for others. And bringing in mail and newspaper. This is all, again, based on your comfort level, the way your family functions and operates, and a way to give them some responsibility. And then I wanted to leave you with this image. This went viral. It was a photo of a dad and grandpa letting a toddler throw a tantrum in the grocery store. And the quote that he posted on his picture, this was, I think, the father who posted this. He said, "2 men standing together in silence, forever bonded by an unconditional love for both each other and this brand new, raw, and pure soul who we would both go to the ends of the earth for." And then as it went viral, I think he commented again, "There are no perfect parents, but one thing my dad taught me is to not parent based on what anyone else thinks. My dad always lets me feel what I needed to feel, even if it was in public and embarrassing. I don't ever remember him saying, 'You're embarrassing me,' or 'Don't cry.' It wasn't until recently that I realized how paramount that was for my own emotional development." So I wanted to kind of leave you guys with that image. Definitely, I see that and cringe and feel like, would I be able to do that in a grocery store or in public? But it's a great reminder, and it's a kind of a good summary of some of the things we were talking about today. I added our resources from the last 2 weeks about some great things that you can use. One of the new ones from last week was that they're offering a 60-day free trial for the Noggin app. You can also go to their website and check it out if you don't want to download the app or you have questions about it. They're offering a smart schedule on a daily basis, a learn through play at home. That might be really helpful for younger kiddos. The Genius of Play, I think I mentioned earlier, is a great thing to follow on Instagram if you have it, or you can just go to their website. They have some coloring pages and things like that, but they also really focus in on the importance of play, and some of those points I went through about why. It's great reminders for me to see every day about why unstructured play is great, and some ideas of how you can institute it at home, and some fun ideas you can include with just everyday house items that you might have laying around. Then our local resources I've added to as well. So again, I invite you to screenshot this. The first one is the emotional support helpline specifically that's been established for COVID through New York State. The number is 1-844-863-9314. That's open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Anyone can call to speak to someone if they feel they need someone to talk to or they're worried about something that's going on right now. Prevent Child Abuse New York line, that is a parent helpline. If you'd like to call to speak to some, it's not specifically reporting child abuse, but to talk to somebody if you're really feeling like you need some help, support, and And so that 800 number is there. 211 can redirect you to any of these resources. It's your go-to in Westchester County through United Way. Hope's Door is a 24-hour toll-free hotline for domestic abuse. New York State Domestic and Sexual Violence Hotline. That's for you or to help a friend or family member that you feel like might need help right now. They are in English and Spanish. And the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is also a great thing that I believe is available 24/7. So that is my last piece. I'm going to stop sharing to say thank you and open it up for some questions. If anyone wants to, you can raise your hand, or if you don't know how to do that, you can type in the chat. And it looks like most videos are blocked, so I won't be able to actually physically see you raise your hand, but there is a little icon if you click in your own video with the 3 dots, you can raise your hand, or you can type it in the chat if you prefer. But if anyone has any questions about what we just did, or possibly anything to add about things that maybe work for you in your home when you're dealing with your kiddos, I'd be welcome to hearing them, and I can unmute you. I'm gonna actually unmute everyone because we have a small group. So I just want to let you guys know you're all unmuted and I can hear you if you'd like to speak. And I also would be excited to hear from you if there's any specific things you'd like me to elaborate on or that you feel like hasn't been covered that I can add for next week, because we're going to continue to do this workshop on Wednesdays at 11 for the time being. And we're hoping that that will give us everyone some more information and some resources. So let me know if there's anything, you can let me know through the audio, or you can type in the chat if there's anything you'd like me to cover for next week.
Caitlin,
Yes.
hi everyone. This is Brenda. I wanted to just comment on the piece about reacting and responding. And I think we started in the first session with some mindfulness strategies, but I think it's challenging when we're in the heat of the moment with this additional stress of this pandemic, when emotions are high. How do we press pause? How do we feel able, when we're so stressed as parents, to stop and respond rather than react? And I just wanted to revisit in the first session that we always have our breath, and that we can kind of slow down the process, and our parasympathetic nervous system we can take it down a notch by just slowing down and taking those breaths in through our nose for 4, holding and releasing. Even for 8 counts, releasing calms the parasympathetic nervous system. We can do that twice. And I've certainly noticed personally over the years how it helps me respond rather than react with my daughters in even the smallest way, because we have that opportunity every time. Our frustration tolerance is challenged at this period of time. So I just wanted to note that those mindfulness strategies really, really help support us through this time with responding rather than reacting. And remember, we never have to respond immediately. We always have our breath to slow us down.
Yes. Thank you for that reminder. Yes. So you did it. We weren't part of the first workshop. Absolutely. Please check it out. And those resources at the end, Headspace and the Stop, Think, Breathe, are all great ways to kind of start if you feel like you don't know how to do that on your own. But that 4 square breathing, or really, yes, the full exhale of the 8 seconds really makes you focus and resets that, exactly, the parasympathetic piece of us. And to start with that, and to know that you don't have to respond right away to that tantrum. You can walk away for a second, reset yourself, calm down, and then go back and respond. before you say something you don't want to say or you might regret. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right. So if there's nobody else who wants to add anything or share any ways they've been handling their kiddos that have worked or maybe hasn't been so successful, and like some suggestions, I'll leave it to say thank you. And I appreciate, again, everyone being here. And I welcome everyone who wasn't in the last few weeks to go back and check out the other videos if you'd like. Share this with whoever you think might benefit. And I hope you join us again next week. Thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of the week. And like I said, next Wednesday at 11, we'll see you again. Take care.
Sure.